Hey, y'all. I have a sad story before we get started tonight. I don't want your pity. I don't want your pity. Well, yes, I do. I want you to cry for me in this moment, and I'm going to tell you why. Last night, we put on a Christmas movie and I ordered some crab legs and they were delicious. And I said, there's not a lot going on. We've had a big day. We've had a really big day with Prince Harry's win. And then yesterday or the day before, we talked about the after and we talked about the panel that was hosted in November by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. And this was Misan Harriman's directorial debut. And David Oyelowo did an amazing job. We just had a lot going on this week. And I said, there's nothing going to happen today on a Friday. So I'm going to eat these crab legs. I'm going to watch my Christmas movie, 12 Dates of Christmas, followed by The Snow Globe featuring Christina Milian. And I'm going to get some rest. I bathed, took a nice bubble bath with my new Christmas candles. And I went to sleep around 8:05 after filling my belly with crab, thinking this is the perfect Friday night. The first tragedy was I went to bed at 8:05 on a Friday. And that means I woke up naturally. My body clock woke me up at 2. So there's that. Cry for me now, please. I need you to shed a tear if you care. And then I get online and I see that the video of the panel for the after that was hosted by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, that included Misan Harriman, the director, and David Oyelowo, the star, dropped. And I was snoozing with a belly full of crab like no tomorrow. And I missed it. Tragedy number 2. Now together we're gonna cry. Just know that I woke up and I said, are you kidding me? Cry for me. Know that I cried for myself. And because I woke up at 2 a.m., I ended up falling back asleep around 5 and then sleeping in this morning and missing my workout. So yeah, Saturday has been beating my ass. And that's okay. I'm going to survive. Thank you for your tears. I know that you cried them for me because this is a tragedy. Where's Shakespeare writing my story? So we're going to go through the video. We're going to talk about it. Meghan did an amazing job hosting this panel. And although I am covering this a few hours late, we're still going to cover it. Happy Saturday. Let's get into it.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. This is very special. Misan and I have been friends for a very long time, over a decade. And he's always had an incredible eye for art and quotes that can move people and anything that's really evocative. And that was before the world is in the state that it is. Compelling for me to be able to witness your journey as a first-time director. Why this project and why now?
When COVID hit, my second daughter was born. The whole process, then George Floyd was killed, and this moment of deep retrospection, recognizing that I'm not okay. All of the traumas of the little boy that's still trying to shake hands in this man's body came out in the summer of 2020. When the opportunity came, go into the moving image, felt that I had to be honest in a film that hopefully could accompany you. It's okay not to be okay.
Did you find the same thing, David, when you saw this project and connected with Misan on it?
I was so compelled by his images before he had reached out to me. I felt each of them was telling the story of this thing that was unfolding.
So I wanted to include the very strong opening. I love that Misan, right out the gate, was open to being vulnerable. That's something that was so present in the after, and it's something that I said repeatedly, not only about his amazing art, his amazing film, but his craft, his photography, his art. It always captures the essence of a person. And I mentioned that when we touched on this panel before we had access to the full video. And so it's great that they started right out the gate, and it's even better to know that that was his mission. It was accomplished. Great job. I'm also glad to hear that David Oyelowo was also inspired before he even took the role or knew that this film existed or that the possibility of this film existed. It's great that he was inspired by Misan, so he was familiar with his work and he was already left inspired. Now, something that got cut out is the fact that this came to be during the time of the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, more specifically after the death of George Floyd. And so everyone was feeling extremely vulnerable, but also needing to hear the message of it's okay to not be okay. And for Misan Harriman to say that that is actually what state he was in, it definitely shows. And I think the message of this film, although 18 minutes, definitely packs a lasting punch. So let's continue with the video.
It's also so interesting what you say, because from your personal experience, and everyone has their own experience with trauma, grief, loss, but when you're grieving the loss of someone when they're still there, versus in this, embodying the grief and the shock that happens, what did that feel like just from an actor standpoint to bring to life? Because it's different than your experience, to encapsulate that in your performance, which really doesn't have many words. So much of it is internalized in your performance and what you were bringing to life and thinking through that, and also for Miss Anne, how you directed him through that.
It's a joke for one of, I think, the great actors of our time to give this young pup an opportunity to even try and make pictures. But I don't call what we've just watched acting with David. It's something more sacred. Was scared and unsure whether we, the collective us, deserve to be the custodian of his truth.
You touched on something really interesting there about masculinity. This film, without question, counters so much of the toxic masculinity that pervasive, and how for you both as men, fathers, what this brought up for you. The theme that I felt is the innocence but also perceptiveness of children. What you were calling on, what that meant to you as fathers to be able to bring this to life.
Was raised by a father who was very in tune with his emotions and taught me and showed me what love looks like. You know, I think men cry more than they care to admit. What I loved about how Miss Anne framed this is that Daya is in public, but he's alone. So he can numb himself and just
go through the motions.
Go through the motions. But we are all connected.
Just as I've mentioned before, I just kind of want to bring it back to how great this movie was, in my opinion. I gave it 5 out of 5, which I don't do. Rarely do I give anything 5 out of 5. I think I've rated 3 things 5 out of 5. But this movie opened up really great conversations regarding not just vulnerability in people in general, but about grief and loss and how to process that loss. And one of the things that David Oyelowo brought up that I thought was so insightful, because I don't know, I've known of him for so long, but it's just a great reminder that we don't know the people that we see from a distance, no matter how much information we take in. But I had no idea that his mother was in a 3-year coma before she passed away. And then, of course, his other father, passed away of cancer. And he talked about the differences of grieving in each situation, and it was because the coma was long drawn out. He felt like he did get to say his goodbye, but it was just such an unorthodox way to say goodbye to someone over that extended period of time. And something else that really sparked in my mind is having a person in a coma for that long. There are moments of hope that could be like miniature deaths when the hope is lost in each of those instances, such as moving a finger or an eye twitch or possibly responding or some sort of response, things like that. And you might get your hopes up and then they dwindle again. And those small incremental deaths that happen before the final one. And those types of things can be extremely hard to process. And then he talked about the grief that he had with, I believe it was his father who had cancer, and how different that was because that's more normalized. It's a lot more common for sure. And being able to say goodbye and essentially getting through that process, knowing essentially what would happen, being able to get through it, and then being able to close the chapter and still, miss that person, love that person, grieve that person, but in a much more concise way. This conversation on this panel was so in-depth. I was absolutely entranced by it. There was just so much there. In 30 minutes, they peeled back so many layers. They touched on toxic masculinity and healthy masculinity, as well as grief and healthy emotions and how to express yourself and connections to people, the dangers of isolation, but also the need for isolation at times, and the innocence and the connection and the positive energy of being around children and people who are innocent in our society. There was so much there that I watched it twice, and I wanted to share the beginning so you could kind of get the vibe, but the full interview is linked below. It's on goldderby.com, and it was shared. Once again, this article is on goldderby.com, and it's linked in the description box below, and the video is readily available. You can watch it straight from the article. And the title of this article is Meghan Markle Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, discusses Netflix short film The After with Misan Harriman and David Oyelowo, and you can also watch the full Q&A. It's an exclusive shared directly with Gold Derby. This article was written by Christopher Rosen, and it was published today or yesterday, and I missed it because I was asleep. Let's continue. I'm going to let it go. With the shortlist voting period for the 2024 Oscars now open, Netflix revealed a new video of Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, moderating a post-screening conversation with filmmaker Misan Harriman and star David Oyelowo for the live-action short film Hopeful: The After. An exclusive premiere of the 30-minute discussion can be found below. The After, which is now streaming on Netflix, is about a London rideshare driver, played by Oyelowo, who has to reconnect with himself and society after witnessing a devastating random attack in the capital. The short film is Harriman's directorial debut following years of success as a photographer, activist, and cultural commentator. Harriman, who has previously photographed Meghan and her husband Prince Harry, became the first Black man to photograph a cover for British Vogue in the publication's 104-year history. That is a shame. Good for him, but they know they're wrong for that. Let's continue. Quote, when COVID hit, my second daughter was born just before lockdown started with the whole process. Then George Floyd was killed, and I had this moment of deep retrospection, recognizing that I'm not okay, Harriman told Meghan in their conversation, which took place last month at a private residence in Montecito, California, where Meghan and Prince Harry live. And I think a lot of the traumas of the little boy that's still trying to shake hands in this man's body came out in the summer of 2020. And when the opportunity came to go into moving image, I felt that I had to be honest and start wearing all of our vulnerability with pride and honesty in a film that hopefully could accompany you in recognizing that it's okay to not be okay. Oyelowo, a two-time Emmy Award nominee, called playing the lead in The After a sacred thing, especially with a piece like this that requires you to go to those dark corners of humanity. I think our job is to hold a mirror up to humanity. And so my job was to, on any given day with this, is just to crack my heart open and let the audience in, let the camera in, let me Misan in, because I had had intensely private moments of grief that shocked me. He said the role unconventionally came to him via a direct message from Harriman with an offer to have a conversation. Quote, I'm not a big fan of social media and I never checked my DMs, and on this good day, I did, and there was a message from this man, Misan Harriman, whose photographs I had seen captured the Black Lives Matter movement as it was unfolding in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. And I was so compelled by his images before he had reached out to me. I felt each of them was telling the story of this thing that was unfolding. Those of us who marched, those of us who were at home, those of us who were dealing with the trauma of COVID, those of us who had lost people, there was so much emotion roiling in everyone. And so any image that he captured had a profound effect on me, Oyelowo said. And then he reached out to me and said, look, I'm looking to make movies and I'm a fan of yours, and would you be interested in having a conversation? And it was a no-brainer for me, not least because he's also a British Nigerian as I am. So he kind of had me at that. And, Meghan found that she descended from Nigeria. So that was pretty cool, I'm sure. She was actually 43% Nigerian. This week, Harriman posted about the event on social media, highlighting the support of some of the screening's famous attendees, including Jeff Bridges, John Corbett, and Bo Derek. First of all, I love John Corbett. But he made a point to single out Meghan, who is a fan of Harriman's work. Quote, what I was really struck by is in a world that can feel and does feel for most of us, I would imagine so big this has reminded us of our shared humanity and our connectedness in a way that is so vital right now, Meghan told Harriman about The After during their chat. The After is now streaming on Netflix. Y'all know I recapped The After, so I highly recommend going to watch The After and then checking out my recap. But we also talked about this panel a little bit before we knew exactly what was said. In recognition of the in-depth conversation that was spawned from this film, Meghan as a moderator did a wonderful job. She asked really compelling questions. So I don't want to share too much because I still want you to go and just take in this 30-minute conversation. I kind of find it so interesting that the film had such a robust message and it was so layered that the conversations around the film are far longer than the film itself. And that just shows you the messaging and the creation behind Misan Harriman and his eye and the level of intention he put into this film. He did an amazing job. But it's a 30-minute conversation, so it's still not very long. So I highly recommend checking it out. Again, in full, it's linked in the description box below, and it was shared exclusively with Gold Derby. But before you do that, I want you to kind of get an idea of some of the really great questions that Meghan asked. She did a really great job moderating. Sometimes moderators can make things about themselves. And I found that she did a wonderful job of infusing her own connection to these topics, but also making sure that the director and the star had the floor, which is no easy feat considering she's the Duchess of Sussex and her mere presence can drive a lot of attention and interest and at times overshadow the main subjects wherever she is. And she did a wonderful job of sharing that spotlight, but also that interest and making sure that at no point was she taking over. She did a wonderful job hosting and supporting both me, San, and David Oyelowo, and the three of them did a wonderful job of sharing this experience with us. So I wanted to share some of the questions that she asked because she did a great job. Just cutting in here super quick to remind anyone watching this video that we are still running our Fisher House Foundation fundraiser for the month of December. So please use the link in the description box below or use the donate button that is so conveniently at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much, YouTube. We are collecting donations for Fisher House Foundation throughout the entire month of December. Thank y'all so much for contributing, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
That's what I was really struck by, is in a world that can feel, and does feel for most of us, I would imagine, so big. This has reminded us of our shared humanity and our connectedness in a way that is so vital right now. It still feels hopeful.
Hope is in the room.
Well, I think that comes through in such a strong way in this, and just so personally exciting to see this chapter for you. And I feel like it's just the beginning for your first project. This is incredibly powerful and meaningful. You knew what it felt like when you were creating this project. You knew how meaningful it felt when you're in it, right? But now as you're able to share it, what has the reception been like? How do you feel? What do you want to see come from this? And what do you want to continue to do, Miss Anne? This is great.
Is really extra. He looks like my dad, you know, which is also...
No, he just described himself as a young pup.
Oh, no. He's a very young version of my dad. But if I showed you a picture of my dad, it's weird.
Wow. We are grateful that you did this, that you're a part of it, that you produced it as well. Just thank you to both of you for being here tonight, and Miss Anne for sharing this piece of work with all of us in our sweet community here.
Sorry for traumatizing you all.
No, thank you.
You're clapping.
No. Is there anything that anyone wants to add? Oh, great. Yes, you first. Always, I can hand on heart say this. He's always approached things through a lens of so much curiosity. And it's such a great example and lesson, I think, to apply on screen, off screen, in your projects, but in life. You're approaching things through a lens of kindness and curiosity. That everything can almost, in some ways, be seen through a child's lens. It's all exciting or interesting, and your ego is not involved in it. And it's your curiosity that has opened the aperture for you to be able to share the things that you did before you were, chairman of the South Bank Center and acclaimed photographer and all these things that have come to fruition. Your ego is so removed from that you can just approach it through a lens of curiosity, and that's what creates something that really resonates with people.
Is lightning in a bottle, and it's certainly, I hope, the beginning of a long-term creative relationship.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So as you can see, not only was the panel really great, not only was the conversation really great, and this film is so riveting that I continue to recommend it. Please watch it. Thanks to those of you who have literally followed up with me and said, I watched it. Thank you so much for suggesting it, because that's great for me to know that some of you actually care about my little recommendations. But I promise you, I would not recommend something I didn't personally enjoy. Y'all know I'll get pretty brutal with my recaps. If you're over on SharionSade's channel, y'all know I'm honest. But not only was this film so riveting and so moving and just such an enjoyable watch, and I think it really did help people to resonate no matter what type of grief and what type of experience you've had, especially related to a trauma, then it does help you to kind of dig deep into that, or just at least take a second look. Like, did I process that? Did I experience that feeling? Recently, Angelina Jolie did an interview and someone asked her, how does she handle grief or just really uncomfortable experiences? As we know, she recently went through a divorce where there was a lot of hostility and at times accusations of volatility. So someone asked her what was her experience with that. And she said, you have to go right through it and you have to feel everything. Feel it. Don't hide it. Don't suppress it. Just feel it, brave through it, be courageous and get through it. And I could not I could not agree with that more. And this film is one of those messages to me in video, in visual form. And the music and the soundtrack in this movie were great as well. So that's all I wanted to share. But in addition to the film being great, the conversation being great, and the panel being great, I just wanted to point out too that Meghan did a wonderful job as a moderator. She really asked great questions, but she engaged really well. She also turned the attention back to the audience to make the audience that were present feel engaged. And that's something that I watched her do a number of times. I just recommend watching this conversation all the way through and let me know what you thought of it. It was so good to me, but let me know some things that I left out that you want to bring forth, and start that conversation and continue that conversation down in the comment section. Now, I think I covered all of the high points. Let me think. Oh, wait. Meghan shared a story. We got a little cameo, essentially, about Prince Archie. So I'm going to let Meghan share that story here.
I will leave you on this. His inspiration runs deep. Our 4.5-year-old son, he would say, I'm not 4.5. Dan was showing how to do photography the last time he was with us. And I bought Archie a camera. And he said, but it's not a Leica like Miss Anne. You are not getting a Leica, not even for Christmas, exactly. So thank you for the inspiration across the board, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Was that story so cute? Archie sounds like he is so inquisitive and so intelligent. I love hearing them tell stories about their children. But y'all are funny as well. The story was cute and funny, but squatties, y'all keep me in stitches. If I'm on Twitter, it's to see what y'all are talking about. I don't even be participating. I just be over there cracking up. Now, except for me this morning at 2 a.m. because I couldn't fall asleep, I sent off like 70 tweets. It's like a record high, but y'all had me rolling. Now, I don't know where this originated, so it might have actually originated with S Bonnet on Twitter. But let me know if I'm incorrect, because I couldn't track down anything earlier than this. So as far as I'm concerned, this is what I saw first. But if someone else actually originated this, please let me know. Leave it in the comment section below. Please correct me kindly. I don't like nasty correction. But I saw it first from S Bonnet, and she is, feel free to go follow this person at SANNETJE_26, SanNetG at 26. And it's on the screen here. But they said, we got King Archie lawyered up. They better get him that Leica. Wait, y'all. Not them creating a letterhead. Look, they created Archie a letterhead. Y'all are so funny. Oh my God. I know y'all were funny because y'all be in my comments. But this says statement in response to Duchess of Sussex Leica camera comment. Now see, anyway, I have been ruling my kingdom in quiet dignity. However, following the recent events that have transpired where one of my subjects, no ma'am, keep going, went on Netflix to discuss the private matters with an insulting claim that they have the power to refuse me having a Leica camera is preposterous. They even perpetuated the notion further by saying I will be not getting it for Christmas. This action was unprovoked, uncouth, and uncalled for. First of all, Prince Archie, vocabulary, you better do it, sir. Just to shed light to the matter, recollections do vary. Oh, y'all are petty. I know she'd be sick of y'all. No, that is funny. Just to shed light to the matter, recollections do vary, as I remember showing Misan my genius ability behind the camera, and he recommended as the actual professional for me to obtain a good quality camera. What is the point of being insanely talented if I cannot obtain the right tools for the job? You know what? Ask the questions that need answers, Prince Archie. Excuse me, King Archie, my bad. Having done my duty for the Sussex squad during lockdown, I was left to using a poor quality camera where I had to take grainy yet insightful photos. You better always bring it back to your talent. Imagine what magic I could have produced with a Leica camera. Just to remind everyone of the upcoming Invictus Games where my talents will be noteworthy. I have had an intense discussion with my Montecito employees. Sorry. They think their titles exempt them from consequences, and I will be dealing with this matter thoroughly. I have been silent about Dirty Foot Gate. You know what? They did make that baby dirty foot. They did make that baby's foot dirty, but there is so much a king can take before laying the law. Netflix needs to watch what content they agree to broadcast, as I can easily put them out of business with a phone call, and that he can do. Thank you, Sussex Squad, as I affectionately know you as my aunties and uncles. Queen Lilibet sends her regards. She will put out a formal statement before Christmas, as she has a mammoth task of ensuring Christmas here in Montecito is up to her desired standards. I know that's right, Miss Ma'am. Happy holiday season. Yours with love, King Archie. Okay, all of us need to take a collective bow to King Archie. We're so sorry for laughing along with one of your employees. Our bad. Whoever created this needs to go into comedy writing, because you had me rolling and I couldn't even reread it without cracking up. Anyway, I had to share that. Now, the first person I saw post this was S Bonnet, but I don't know if that's where it originated. So I'm asking, if you know where that originated, let me know in the comments so that I can shout them out on Monday, to make sure I find the originator, because this is funny. But feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank y'all so much for watching. That is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday and holiday season. Don't forget, I'm still running my Fisher House Foundation fundraiser. Hit the donate button below or the link in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, etc., 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 and I will see you next time. Bye.